This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome everybody to Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room. This is Don.
This is Doug.
Hey, today we've got a special guest for you guys. She is the founder of an organization called She's a Veteran.
She's the veteran.
She's the Veteran. We have Brooke Jackson with us today. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself, Brooke.
Hey y'all, thanks for having me on. First off, I am a Army person, veteran. Met Mr. Doug over here, First Sergeant Norton, many moons ago on a deployment land with broken television on my right shoulder, called Third ID. But yeah, still in the reserves. Started out as a medic, now working as a PA. So a little bit of transition over the years and stuff, and yeah, just doing my thing.
All right.
She don't know about the Doug Norris.
So yeah, you wasn't with us in the old NTC. So somebody started taking Chuck Norris jokes and writing them in the shitter walls, and replaced Chuck Norris with First Sergeant Norton. So,
you know what? I could totally see how that fits. So.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm glad you're with them. I'm glad you're with them.
I may have seen somebody doing it. I don't know.
So yeah, no, I mean everybody, like, part of Savali Army is trying to get Chuck Norris to do a podcast with us now. Just so
that'd be
Chuck
awesome.
Norris against Chuck Norris.
Yep.
So we'll let you know how that goes, though, Brooke. I'm sorry.
I'm holding my breath. Please keep me posted.
So I'm holding my breath too.
Well, we're going to tell us a little bit about your organization and how it started. And
yeah, so I was in PA school and I graduated 2017. And of course, by then, I mean, I think I'd been in the military for like 7 or 8 years. To your last year of a PA school, you've got to look something up, kind of come up with what you want to research, a topic. Some people call it a thesis, some people call it a capstone. It's whatever you're doing to graduate with your master's and things. I just felt like there wasn't a lot of research that had been done on women veterans. And so my topic ended up being PTSD is both underdiagnosed and undertreated in the female veteran. And a lot of that came from the fact that, first off, when you get around to 2014, 15, when Congress is like, oh, women, y'all can now be on the front lines. And I'm thinking to myself, what do you think we just did? What do you think all these other women have been doing? Wait a minute, it's offensive. I mean, so there was some of those things. I mean, I've got a lot of friends that, they started their deployments as women 2002, 3, earlier on than my career even started. So just kind of thinking about that perspective and a lot of how things were transitioning. Because when you come off active duty, there's a lot of things that kind of transpire with how women kind of get treated in civilian society, right?
Right.
It's much different than how you're treated day to day on active duty. And it was just kind of mind boggling, to be honest. I mean, there was men out there that acted like I'd sat in some princess castle with, I don't know, people bringing me my meals and fanning me with a fan and feeding me grapes or something. Like, it was just kind of appalling that no, unfortunately. I'm still waiting, man. How about you? I'm still waiting on it.
I'll go get the grapes. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So it was just something I really needed to look at. And, it was definitely interesting, the lack of research, number one, on women veterans. There was only like maybe 2 studies I could go off of, wasn't a lot of research done at the time. One of the papers I had to use was like PTSD for Vietnam veterans, and it was, of course, all male. I mean, it's just because like, what's going on here? Yeah. So that's kind of what started everything. And then when we moved to Charleston, South Carolina, I just kind of thought to myself, new town, new job, new place. Like, let me find my people, right? Like, let's find a women veteran group I could plug into, and just, you know how it goes. Veterans, like, we just kind of have a thing that you don't really have to say anything, right? Making a statement, not saying a word. It's just a kind of, you've been through it type of a thing. There was nothing here. And so I just kind of thought to myself, I've tossed around this idea of starting a group for a while now, and just feeling like mental health needed to be the focus. Everybody talks about 22 a day, but no one talks about the fact that some of those 22 are women. And, there's a lot of women committing suicide too that are veterans, and it's kind of like brushed under the rug. So I started it. You can either complain about it or try to do something about it, and that's what I did.
Awesome. I can totally see how that could come to play, because when you start talking about PTSD, the average civilian, all they think is, oh, you must have been 11 Bravo infantry guy, but they don't understand that there's all different sorts of PTSD.
Correct.
When you file that VA claim, they don't just ask strictly about combat. This could have been sexually harassment or rape type scenarios. It could be the fact that you were a medic and had to deal with some pretty nasty stuff. It's not just about because somebody was shooting at you.
Oh yeah.
That's correct. And I mean, that's the thing too, is I think that there's a misperception of the female veteran in general. I think that, even society sometimes act like if you personally, as a military veteran, have not watched someone get their head blown off Black Hawk Down style, then there's no way you could have PTSD. But, it presents itself in a lot of different ways for people. And what I discovered from even my own research is like, men generally tend to be a lot more outward. Maybe they're people who go out and fight. I mean, that's why we have the stand down when you get back in the country, right? There's like this reckless behavior. There's this outward aggression. There's a lot of different things, but women are very withdrawn. And so women kind of just go back into the mix, and then, they're quiet, they're reserved, they're isolated. They just have a different experience of it. And so it's not really caught very often. Maybe they end up having children and somebody says, oh, they've just got postpartum depression. Well, maybe you've had depression baseline, related to some PTSD issues. So I think that there's a lot of mislabeling, but I just generally think that the women itself, I really think it's important to advocate for the mental health for women. And that's why my group focuses strictly on women. I think there's a lot of groups out there that are doing a great job, for spouses of military, for children. I think there's a lot that focus on the men. I think that we're really the underserved category. That are people looking at it? Are people talking about it? And I don't think that they really are. And I'm just trying to do what I can to change that.
Yeah, I completely get that.
No, I get it too. Sometimes I even made a post of it one time. I think my kids get PTSD from my PTSD.
No, yeah.
I mean, it's sad to think that way, but with my anger issues, and I've been hitting heads too many times probably, but with my anger issues and stuff, the way I deal with shit sometimes, it's just like, man, I feel sorry for these kids.
And it's almost like you can watch yourself react to these things, but you don't know how to stop it, right? Like you see yourself
react to it before you think
happening, but you just don't feel like not an out of body experience, but it's just like this runaway train that you're kind of sitting there like, I can't change what's going on right now, but this is just what's happening. Something's just taking over, and this is what it is.
Like I mean, by the time it already came out, by the time you realize,
absolutely,
it was too late to walk away from. And it sucks sometimes. I mean, it worked. Right. It works for me at work, so I'm good there. But
you found the right job. I did too. A lot of my patients are asleep. I can't really get mad at them when they're asleep. So it works for me too.
I mean, that'd be like the great time to like yell at them then when they're sleeping, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Drawing dicks on their head. And
I would take advantage of that probably. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what led to me getting help too. After I retired, just one day the boiling point hit, and me and my son got into it. It about became physical, and next thing I know, my wife's in between me and him, and that's kind of where I decided maybe I do need to go get some help.
And I think with women, we're so good at putting ourselves last. That's been a big problem. A lot of women are very dismissive that they have anything going on a lot of times, or they'll think, okay, I've never been diagnosed with this, so that means I don't have it. But they're not talking to anybody about any of the things that are coming up. They really don't know that, a lot of them, when they're quiet for relationships and not communicating well, or having some kind of anxieties and different things, a lot of times because they're just not informed or have never really looked at it to process it, realize that maybe that's related to some PTSD. And specifically for myself, I mean, I was really focused on my research for the combat thing. I mean, because for so long, they just acted like women had never seen anything, did anything, you know,
Right.
and my deployment, women were doing the same thing that the men were doing. So I know that that's the case for a lot of people. You know, I just think that that was pretty much brushed under the rug. And then, of course, like I said, I don't know, 2015 Congress is like, surprise, now you can be on the front lines. You're like,
Right.
this
Yeah.
isn't World War II. Ain't nobody dug a trench out there and said, there's your front line. I mean, people are like nervous they're going to get blown up every day. I mean, what are you talking about? Now you could be on the front lines. Like,
I think
that
I own a couple people
changed.
in the trench though.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
So, you know,
was that like extra duty?
it's kind of funny that
I
you
mean,
said
it's just
that. You know,
being an ass.
if you look at the Jessica Lynch situation, you know, when she came back from that whole thing, the media tried to force it down the Americans' throats that, you know, she was this warrior princess, you know, and she had to set the record straight several times on different talk shows and stuff because of how the media was trying to portray it. But I think that's, you know, then you get Congress coming out and saying, look what we did. We fought for equal rights, and now they get to fight on the front lines and all that type of stuff too. It kind of shows how it plays into that stereotype, you know?
Right. And I mean, there's men that, you know, that are retired that maybe they never served with women. I mean, and that's totally understandable.
There's
That's probably
plenty
where
of
the,
men retired that never even damn left stateside.
Yep, there is.
No,
That's exactly right.
that's
So
It is true. I mean, there
Yeah.
is men out there. I know a few that never deployed.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah, and so it's kind of both ways, right? The ones that never deployed and the ones that never had women in their units, like that's just their perception. And unfortunately, you know, it's not their fault. That's just what their experience is.
Right.
But some of those same people are the ones that are not treating us so well. You know, I got a lot of women in my
Absolutely.
community that get yelled at for parking in the Lowe's veteran spot and being told, hey, that's for your husband, not for you.
Wow.
Wait, what?
No.
Wow.
I mean, people getting treated like that. Like the treatment of women veterans compared to men is just night and day. And so when you already have like a baseline possible like PTSD, you know, some mental health issues going on, and then you're just kind of beat up like that, it turns out that a lot of women stop telling people they served. It's pretty unfortunate. And so then they just kind of hide out and don't really bring it up. It is tough too to be a woman that has served. A lot of civilian women in particular will be like, why did you choose that? That's so weird. I could never do that. Okay. Like, why? Okay. Why is this awkward? And just, we all have different paths. Then why wouldn't I get a pat on the back for serving my country versus like, I didn't take the traditional go get married, have kids, and just stay at home, you know, which
Right.
there's nothing wrong with that. That's a hard job. I know now that I'm a mom. That's a hard job for anybody who does that and things.
Right.
But my point being, why are we treated differently than what men are? And I've seen a lot of women in our community who talk about the lack of support from the beginning. Generally, there's at least one parent that when the girl says, hey, I want to go serve in the military, there's usually one parent that's like, I can't give you my blessing. I don't approve. You shouldn't go do that. Why are you choosing to do that? Versus like men, generally, I would say, I would give it a 98% is men are like all patted on the back.
Yep.
Every person in their family is like, we've got a hero. And that's appropriate. That's how it should be. I mean, we're serving our country. We're doing a sacrifice, 100% how it should be. It's just that women are not getting that same support.
No,
And it's
I agree.
unfortunate that it continues throughout, and then they end up with these mental health issues that maybe go unrecognized or untreated. So it's a big thing for me too. My group, we have everybody from students to, you know, cadets, reserves, active duty, National Guard, to retired, any prior service. I think it's important to tell every female out there their service counts and it matters.
You have different branches as well, right?
All the branches. I think it's super important to have all the branches. I think that our experience is very different from yours, like I said from the beginning. And there's not that many of us, you know, I mean, what is it? 1% serves their country. And then I think Army's like at 15% as female. So you're the minority of the minority already, you know, and that's 9% for the Marine Corps. I think it's like 17 or 18 for Air Force. You know what I mean? So it's not like, you know, a lot of women get attached to groups that maybe they're the only woman in that group. And I think that they can handle it just fine. I know I can. It's just going to be a different experience.
Well,
I tell people all
I
the
mean,
time, I mean,
I do know, like, anybody with the uniform on was treated equal. I could smoke any of you, so.
100%. I was always treated well. And I mean, I could call any of those cats and be like, hey, I need blah, blah, blah. And every one of those guys treated me just fantastic. I've had nothing but absolute respect and great treatment. And I will always tell people, you know, from the very beginning, joining the Army has and is the best choice I've ever made in my life. And I love it. And so this comes from a positive place for my group. This is not anything that's saying anything negative about my experience. This is just trying to focus on women who've had an experience that maybe they don't think about or talk about or get treatment for.
Now, do you think the difference of opinion comes more from the civilian side, or do you think it comes more from fellow veterans?
I think it's just a combination. I think it goes back to, like I said, though, of people's experience, right? So like you can't really expect a Vietnam veteran if he never saw a woman in uniform to kind of have the same perception of someone who maybe deployed, you know, in a mixed unit 3 times to Iraq and Afghanistan. You know, they've had multiple women that they've served with, so their experience is different. I just don't think that it's being addressed a lot. I think that that's what it comes down to, is people aren't really talking about it as much as what I think that they should. Personal, you know, thoughts there.
Right.
But it goes down to, I don't think that it's malicious. I don't think that it's intentional. I just think it's just women are not great for standing up for themselves. And like I said, they're great at making themselves the last priority. And so a lot of times it's just marching on, right?
Right.
Just taking that hit and moving on with it.
So are you guys just strictly in South Carolina, or is the plans to expand other chapters?
So we do have plans to expand. I am kind of a one-woman show for the most part. I do have 2 board members. So we started as a community in 2020. And I knew what I could take on based on working full-time as a PA and things like that in a new town, whatever. And just trying to do it well and do it small. And then last fall, I had so many people that were like, oh man, I've got people who really want to donate to your cause. They really believe in it, you know, because it turned out South Carolina has 45,000 women veterans alone, and that's not including active duty. And there wasn't really a lot of, we'll just say there's not a lot of groups in the whole state. There might be something, I think, that focuses on like some business stuff and things like that, but not anything that has my exact mission of mental health for women veterans, and specifically only non-spouses, not for kids, just for us.
Right.
So definitely like a gap there. Became 501c3 in the last few months. And so I did have to have board members. They're fantastic. I have 2 other female veterans. One's Air Force and one is Navy. I didn't want to get too, you know, sidetracked with all my Army buddies, which I could, because, you know, I love them all.
Yeah.
And then we'll eventually end up with some board members that are just civilians. I think it's important to have kind of like a perception from outside and seeing like what they think and see. It just takes time to grow board members and things. So yes, currently I am the one person doing all the things for the most part. They've been helping me out with different things that they can help with, but it just takes time to figure out what you really need to ask for help.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. I mean, we're in that same situation here too. You know, as this grows, you want to keep your mission intact and driving forward, but all these other things start coming from the sides, and
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Eventually it would be nice for us to grow. I do have like a consulting, you know, philanthropy firm I've been working with that helped me set up the 501c3, and kind of just talking about how we could replicate. So one of the ways that we personally approach mental health improvement, we call it programmatic activities. So we come up with things that are skills. So just yesterday, actually, we had a surfing and yoga workshop, you know, and it's just for the women to come out, not for anybody else. I'm very specific about that. It's really hard for a woman to come out and have a good time and relax if she's sitting there wondering, is my kid safe? Is my spouse having a good time?
Right.
Is my kid in the water? Are they over here? Are they getting sunburned? Do they need to put on more sunscreen? Is my spouse hungry? Do I need to go find food? You know, women are these caretakers a lot of times where it's not easy for them to take that mental health break and focus on what they're doing. So we had like enough, you know, the full slots filled up for the 2nd year in a row. And we tend to partner with organizations that already have something established. So last month we partnered with a horseback riding therapeutic company, went out and did connecting with horses in a happy hour. Next month is our big celebration for Women Veterans Day. So June 12th is generally when we were finally allowed to be official members of the military in 1948. Don't worry about all those women who had served on the front lines, World War II, and the nurses and stuff. Don't worry about that. They weren't technically military members. They were the volunteer unit. So, you know, it's kind of a cool day to just celebrate the women. And we had a pretty good turnout last year. So I'm excited to see what this year turns out to. We had people travel as far as Chicago come to it last year.
Wow.
You know, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, all over. So just different places and things. So we do have some women outside of just the state of South Carolina. It's already kind of happening on its own accord. It'll just be a matter of how we can replicate teaming up with different organizations and having more than me to plan the events and the coordination and the promotion and the things. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting up against the time, Brooke.
Okay.
So, you know, we appreciate you coming on, and you know, it kind of y'all's organization, you know, kind of fits in with what we're doing so much as the mental health side of the house. You know, for us, it doesn't matter who you are, male, female. You know, we're just all about the veterans and trying to, you know, bring back that camaraderie from what you had in the military. You know, once you get out and away from it, you don't have that anymore.
No.
Yep.
So that's kind of what we do, and you know, I commend you, because listening to you talk, I just, you know, a lot of things I got to thinking back, and I was like, wow, she's absolutely right. There's a lot of this stuff just does not get noticed.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that, and I guarantee you, when people hear this podcast, they're going to say the same thing and start thinking back about, you know, their impressions of what a soldier looks like, and
it ain't me.
It's gonna wake some people up.
What you called me earlier, Barbie? I mean, GI Barbie's been the nickname for so many years anyway.
Well, I was calling you Patriot Barbie. That's what I was.
Oh, there you go. I like that
Patriot
one.
Barbie.
I'm gonna steal that one now. See, I'll own that one too.
I wasn't going with GI Barbie, but you know, I think you're like the only medic that year when we were deployed that I didn't smoke. Her nose was like, I mean, she was always in the books when I seen her.
Yeah.
The rest of them were just damn crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I was the colonel's medic, so I was on PSD or coming back from mission and convoys, and then reading my books, and then
yeah.
It was kind of the rotation there. Yeah.
So then Amy had to put up with me.
Yep.
You know? She sure did, and she did a hell of a job too, by the way.
She's amazing.
Yep. Well, you know, like I said, everybody knows that, you know, what we're doing. We should start adding her to the list of organizations.
We can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, if you need some help, you know, there's the suicide prevention number. That's probably the fastest way to get somebody for some help, and that's 1-800-273-8255. Chief Rathburn has his organization out on the West Coast. It's leavingthesidelines.org. They are primarily over in the Washington, Oregon area. As female veterans, or, you know, they need some help, they now have she's a veteran.org.
She's the veteran.
Or she's the veteran.org.
She's the veteran.
I'll have to write it down.
We're writing it right now.
But absolutely, you know, so the point being is we're coming up with avenues to eliminate this 22 a day, you know, as of now it's 17 a day, you know, and that's another stereotype that we just never really liked. You know, one is too many, and
well, we've all had one, so
absolutely. So
unfortunately,
yes.
Unfortunately,
yep. So
list gets longer every year for me. I'm sure it does for y'all too.
It does. It does. You know, I was talking with somebody on Facebook today that he just had a buddy do it, and that was the third one for him. You know, and it just makes you shake your head. You know.
Yeah.
But we do appreciate you coming on, and we will shoot you a message, let you know what day and everything this is going out, so you can share it with your avenues of people, and hopefully it brings some awareness. You know, it did with me.
Thank you so much for having us today. Well, me, one woman show here. But no, I'm just grateful for the opportunity and catch up too. It's good to see y'all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, hang out just a second.
Okay.